So YieldMax did the reverse split yesterday and today on several of their ETFs, and the last group will be on December 8th, but we're going to go over how to adjust and fix the spreadsheets to account for that reverse split so that we can get our real price per share corrected. And then we'll take a look at the distributions for Group 1 along with the nice move that we had on Bitcoin, which did move Misty up. Hello, my friends, this is Legend. So today we've got a lot to cover. We're going to go over how to adjust the spreadsheet to account for that reverse split if you have any of the ones that were in that new list. And here's that list. And as you can see right here, this is effective on December 1st, and these are effective on December 2nd. There are 3 other ones that will be effective on December 8th, being AMDY, MSTY, and PYPY. The rest of these have already gone through that and should show up in your broker account, that new price. But of course, looking at our spreadsheet, it does mess up our real price per share value along with our average purchase price. And if we look at the summary page, it looks like we just got rich, right? So on CONY, it's showing that, if I were to sell my shares out right now, I'd make $25,000. So I'll take that, right? Along with ULTY, looks like I'm going to make about $11,000 on that. I wish. But we're going to get this updated to correct this, and that will get it back into a line and get everybody back rolling. And the 2 that I have, of course, is CONY and ULTY from this list here. But if you have it for Marnie or Tesla, YBIT, or so on, then you'll use this same method to correct those. But before we get started, if you don't mind, hit that like button as it does help the channel out. So the first one we're going to start off here with is ULTY. And the reason I'm starting off with ULTY is just simply because it's the easiest of the 2. Because it is indeed a number of shares divisible by 10. Because ULTY is a reverse split 1 for 10. Means I'll get 1 share for every 10 shares I own, okay? And of course, in turn, that current price multiplies by 10, okay? And that's why you see ULTY now at $39.95, okay? So that means that we have to adjust the number of shares, which will adjust our purchased share price here, and it will also adjust the real price per share. And this is going to be a fairly simple, but you may need to pause and write down the formula that you'll have to enter in, as I like to use a formula just to make sure that we're capturing everything. And just to give you an idea of what we're basically going to be doing here is we're going to make 2 entries into the individual stock purchase entry section here. We're going to make 2 entries. We're going to give the date, either December 1st or December 2nd, depends on which ETF you're using. For ULTY, it will be a December 1st, as that's when ULTY did their reverse split. We'll need to come up with that sell price order and how many shares that are being sold. So that first line will basically be selling what we have. So that will close it out, right? And then the next line, we're going to buy them right back at the new price. So we're basically closing out with one line, and we're going to buy it back with the other line with the new number of shares and the new share price. But don't worry, I'm going to go through this and show you exactly what we need to do. So again, for ULTY, we're going to enter in 12/1 of 2025. And for the share price, to get the share price, we're going to enter in a formula. So to start a formula, we start with the equal sign. Now, I'm going to type it out, and you can pause the video so that you can record this formula. And I'll also show you the parts of it that will be different for each individual. So we first start off with the equals, and then we're going to type sum. with an open parentheses, and we're going to sum up the total amount that we have invested over here. And to do that, we're just going to select the very first one, hold and drag, and then we let go, right? So that way you capture all of these numbers. And you can see D19 to D28. And that's what it is. Row 19, row 28, column D. Okay, so you can actually just type it in with a colon in between it, or you can highlight and it will grab them for you. So that's going to give us our total amount, and you can see it's already calculating a little bit right here of $1,610.25, which is this total capital invested up here. Now, the reason I'm using a formula and not just entering this in, because I want to make sure I'm grabbing everything that is inside that cell, just in case there is some type of roundation or anything like that. I want to try to get it as close as possible. Now, it'll make more of a difference, especially when we go doing this to sum up the number of shares, because there are a lot of people with fractional shares. And now these rows here for the shares could be rounded. Okay, and we don't want any kind of roundation. We want the total number, no matter how many numbers after that decimal point. We want to make sure we capture it all. So we're looking for that buy price. So we got the total amount we've spent, and we want to divide it by what? How many shares we have. So we have our first part of the formula right here, and then we're just going to hit the divide sign, and then we're going to hit sum again, open parentheses, and again we're going to grab, so click, hold, drag to the bottom, and then close parentheses on that. Okay, so you can see we have equals sum D19 to D28. So column D, row 19 to row 28, which captures these numbers. And we want to divide it by the sum, meaning to add all these numbers up, right? C19 to C28. So it's the same rows, but a different column, C. So it adds up everything here. And that's going to give us $4.88. So if we hit enter on that, it gives us our $4.88. That is our average price, right? And again, it should be this number here, but I don't want to necessarily just pick this number because it could be rounded. How many shares do we have? Now for this one, I only have whole shares. But again, if you have fractionals, you definitely want to make sure you're using the sum function. So we'll do again the sum, open parentheses, and it's already got these highlighted, but you can highlight them again, it doesn't matter. And it's going to be that same list, C19 to C28, close parentheses, and that's going to give us our total. But this is a sell order, right? We're selling these off. So we got to make this a negative number. And to do that, we're going to hit times -1, okay? And that takes it to a negative 330. So therefore now it shows our capital spent being a negative 1610.25. And as you can see, it does zero out our capital, our real price per share is zeroed out, and along with our number of shares are zeroed out. Now we need to make a new purchase, and we're going to do it on that same date. And now we need to figure out, well, what is that buy price? First of all, we need to know how many shares we're going to have. And we can use our calculator right here. And we had 330 shares, and we're going to have a 1 for 10, so that's divided by 10, and that's 33 shares. So we know this is going to be 33 shares, right? Now, our buy price in this case, since it does divide out evenly, I can simply just take the amount that was spent, the 1610.25, and divide it by 33. And that's what I'm going to do right here. Now, if it is different, if you did have fractional shares, then you're going to need to look on your broker app for that ETF and see what the total capital spent is for that position. Not what the market price is, and not what it's worth on the market, but how much was spent. Because if you had fractional shares, it will be a lower amount normally than the amount that you're showing right here. So instead of 16, 10, 25, if you had a fractional share, they're not going to give you 33.5 shares. They're going to probably just pay out that 0.5 shares and you'll have 33 even shares. In my case, like I said, since I had a number that was divisible by 10, it just worked out easy for me. Now I have one for CONY and it will be a little bit different as it is not evenly divisible by 10. So for this one, let's just keep it simple and we can just enter in a formula yet again, and we're going to start off with equals, and we're going to enter in this total right here. So we can simply click that number. Now it's showing as a negative, so we can take that times -1. So what that does is that now makes it a positive number, and this is 1610.25. And to get the price per share, we just take this number and divide it by how many shares we have. And we can simply just say divided by our 33. And you can type in 33 or you can click to reference that cell, however you want to do it. And you'll see that the new average purchase price is $48.80. And it does make sense, right? No pun intended. We originally had $4.88 and now we have $48.80. So it got multiplied by 10 and the number of shares got divided by 10. And like I said, it works out nice and easy if your number of shares you had divides out evenly by 10. So there you go. That fixes this one, and that was the easy one. And that's the reason I wanted to start off with this one first. So that corrects my real price per share. It also corrected my purchased share average and my number of shares. So I have 33 shares at a purchase price of $48.80 and my adjusted price per share of $42.97. And with the current price of $39.95 means that if I were to sell all my shares at the current price, I will lose $99.53. So everything here has now been corrected, and that will also transfer right over to our summary page. As you can see right here on ULTY, we now show 33 shares with our real price per share of $42.97. And you can see it matches up here, $42.97, 33 shares. So this one now is correct. So now let's go over and let's update for CONY. Now CONY also did a 1 for 10. You will have to look on your broker app to find out how much money was actually used to purchase those shares. Okay? Now selling off is the same way. So we'll enter our date here, and the date being 12/2. How many shares are we selling off? We're going to be selling off all 625 shares. But again, we're going to go ahead and use a formula. And the only reason I'm doing that is so that if you have fractional shares, like I've said before, it will capture those that could be rounded within these cells. And this cell here may not show all of those decimal places. In my case, of course, I can just enter in -625, but I want to show you how to do it if you have and are showing fractional shares. So again, equals the sum, and we're going to sum up the total number of shares we have right here. In this case, it's going to be that, again, C column, and it's going to go from row 19, and this time it's going all the way down to 37, right? Because I have that many entries for CONY. We have the C19 colon C37, that captures everything, close parentheses, times -1, because this is a cell. Now we have the -625 here, and we need to calculate what that sell price is. So just like last time, equals the sum, and we're going to grab the total amount that we have invested. And again, I want to use these actual figures, so I have the sum, open parentheses, and I'm going to drag this down and capture all of them just above my entry that I have right here. And I'm going to do close parentheses, and I'm going to take that, and that will give me my total amount that I have invested, and I want to divide that by how many shares I had total. And again, just to keep with consistency, we're going to enter in sum, open parentheses, and I'm going to grab all of these once again. I'm going to grab that minus 625 down here because that's where I'm entering this information. And close parentheses. And once I hit enter on that, it gives me $8.36 for a total amount spent of $5,223.14. Now, as you can see, once again, everything has been cleared out. The only thing that's still showing is your distributions, and if you had any premium that you've earned. Those won't change, right? Because that's over here in this column. Now that we have sold it out, we want to buy them back at the new price. So 12/2, same day. And how many shares do we have? So again, we're going to use our calculator, and I had 625 shares. Now it's 0 up here because we zeroed it out, but we know what it is because it's right here, right? 625 shares. So at 625 divided by 10 is going to be 62.5 shares. Well, just like I said before, they're probably not going to pay you out that 0.5 shares. And if you look on your app or your broker account, you'll probably see that you have a whole number of shares. Now they have a choice. They can round you up to 63 in my case, or they will round down to 62 and then pay you out what that 0.5 share is worth. Now it usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks or so before you actually get that payout of that half a share, but you will get that paid out in cash into your account if that's what they did and rounded yours down, just like they did on mine. Mine shows 62 shares. So I just wanted to show you that that 0.5 will not probably carry over into your account. They normally will round down or round up, but either way, you're not going to lose money, but it does affect how much you have invested. So we're going to use 62 shares for this one, and that's going to be 62 right here, and that's how many shares I have. But I cannot use this amount, right? Because I'm going to get paid out that half a share. So if I'm getting paid out that half a share, that will come out of this total $5,223.14. So I cannot say this number divided by 62 like we did for ULTY. Only reason I could do that for ULTY is because it was a number divisible by 10. This one gave me a remainder of 0.5, therefore I cannot. I need to figure out what is the new amount that's being used to buy those 62 shares. And that's where you have to look on your broker account, and you should see how much you have spent in that position, as that should change because they will be paying out that fractional share. So you'll need to definitely check your broker account to see what that amount is that's being used to purchase those shares. Now I've taken a screenshot and I'm showing it right here on the screen now. As you can see, and let me slide it over, before I was using $5,223.14 when I had 625 shares. But you can see now the total cost right here being $5,141.63. That is the new amount that I have invested. The difference of that will actually get paid out to me because that is that half a share, and that will be what that half a share is worth. Okay, and that's what that difference is. But this is the number I need right here. So this is the number I will use to calculate what the actual average price is that it's being purchased at. So I'll enter in that 51.41.63, and I'll enter that in right here with, again, using the formula equals, and I'm just going to type in that number that we were just showing, that 5141 $0.63, as that's my new cost in CONY. And I'm going to take that, divide it by how many shares I have. I have 62 shares. And when I enter that, boom, there we go. Now I'm showing my new average of $82.93 for my purchase average, and my new adjusted price per share average, or my real price per share average, being $57.37. And of course, CONY sitting at $46.51 currently means if I were to sell out of CONY, I'm going to currently lose about $673. Now again, looking at my screenshot of my account, this is the purchase average of $82.93, and we've got the purchase average of $82.93 right here. We've got our total cost. This matches this simply because that's what we typed in. But I wanted to show you that now it does match up to what our account shows. So now CONY is up to date. Now I will go ahead and let you know that after a reverse split, this distribution average shown up here at the top, where right now it shows it roughly 7 cents, that is not going to be correct. And it will not be correct for about a month. Okay, because what it does is it uses the last 4 distributions. Well, currently the last 4 distributions were 6 cents, 6 cents, 8 cents, and 8 cents. So the average being about roughly 7 cents. And that is not going to get updated until we get 4 more distributions to get a true distribution average up here to help to recalculate the number of payoffs it's going to take to get it paid off, right? Right now it says 763, okay? And obviously that's not correct either. And that's because it is using that 7 cents, and it's saying that my real price per share being $57, it's going to take 763 weeks to get it paid off. So don't worry about that. That will correct over time. But it will take about 4 weeks to get those distributions in a line to what it's actually going to be, because it shouldn't be 6 cents after this price change. But I wanted to go ahead and let you know that these 2 top numbers up here will get adjusted. You just got to be patient with those, as it will take about a month before those get back into a line, because the data that it's reading over here is not any longer correct because of that reverse split. But that's okay. It's not going to affect anything else on the summary page, as this is just for your own viewing anyway. Now we can go back to the summary page, and you can see CONY now at $57.37 and ULTY $42.97. The payoff distributions down here will get adjusted, like I said, once we've got about 4 distributions of that actual distribution payout that we're going to be receiving since that price has changed. So hopefully that helped and that got you straightened out, as luckily I had one that was a little easier to enter in, being ULTY, as it did divide out evenly. And then I had one, of course, that I had to add a little bit of extra work, and it really was just to look on your broker app just to see what the amount is that is being used to purchase those shares, as that is what you'll need in order to calculate what that purchase price is. But to get a copy of this sheet, there will be a link in the pinned comments and in the description where you can join my Discord, where you will get a copy, and this will be a blank copy, right? So that you can enter in all of your positions and ETFs that you have of these high yield ETFs to be able to track what your real price per share is. It's great to see mine, but it's much better to see your own. But if you have one that has gone through a reverse split, definitely go back, rewatch some of this, jot down what that formula is for each of those cells, and that should get you straightened out. But now let's just go ahead and quickly go over what the distributions will be for Group 1 of the YieldMax ETFs. Okay, so this distribution announcement will be for Group 1, December the 2nd, and the X date will be December the 3rd, which is Wednesday, and the payout date will be December 4th for these Group 1 ETFs with YieldMax. And we'll start right off with Chippy at 43 cents, Feet with 32 cents, and that's a 61% distribution rate. 5E, 22 cents, GPTY, 29 cents, LFGY with 34 cents, QDTY, 27 cents, RDTY, 32 cents, SLTY with 20 cents, SLTY with 42 cents, and there's our ULTY that went through that reverse split. And as I stated in a previous video, I was looking for roughly about that 50 to 60 cents. And there it is, 58 cents. So it basically did get multiplied by 10, give or take, right? And that's a 76.9% distribution rate. YMAG, 9 cents, and YMAX with 9 cents. And we had a couple others right here with BIGY. Now these are monthly, and they are part of the target 12, which means they target that 12% distribution rate. So BIGY will be 53 cents, RNTY with 49 cents, and SOXY with 59 cents. So that wraps up all of the distributions for YieldMax. I was glad to see that we're already getting that 50-some cents for ULTY, as that means that we'll only need about 3 more distributions before we can get that average corrected at the top of the individual page, and that will help to correct how many weeks we'll need to get it paid off. So keep that in mind. And last, I just wanted to do a quick little glance at the market, as Bitcoin did have a nice move today. And here we are on Bitcoin, and you can see it had a very nice move. Now it moved up and is still moving, and it's currently up about 5.5% on Bitcoin, sitting at around 91.7. It was around 92 just earlier today, so it has peeled back just a hair. But still, that's a very nice move on Bitcoin. But now the question is with this move up, we know Mr. probably moved up, but what did it do with MSTY? And as we can see here on Mr., we had a move up, and it moved up 5.78%. That is very close to what Bitcoin moved up, right? Bitcoin is, of course, still running, so it was up a bit higher, right? Because it's right now at 5.5%, but it was a little higher probably at close, so it was probably very close to that 5.78% where Mr. is showing. But if Mr. moved up 5.7%, what did MSTY move up? Was it able to capture all of that or not? And there we go, sitting at 5.5%. Very nice. I know earlier it was at 6 at one point, close to 7% up. So what a nice move. Bitcoin seemed to peel back just a little bit toward the end of the day, which did of course bring down MSTY, but it's still up over 5% for the day. So we're sitting at 715 on MSTY. And we'll be getting those announcements tomorrow on Group 2. Now, MSTY has not done a reverse split yet. That one will not happen until Monday next week. So once that happens, and that will be a 1 for 5. So whatever that price is, it'll be multiplied by 5 roughly, and how many ever shares you have will be divided by 5. So we'll have to go through that to update our spreadsheet for that one as well. And AMDY is also another one that we'll be updating. So I'll have a few to do next week as well. But what a nice move on Bitcoin, and glad to see Mr. moving up as well. Now, granted, Mr. is at a bit of a resistance line here. As you can see, it came back down and it stopped right there at it. Now, this resistance line was a previous resistance line over here until it broke out of it, right? And this resistance line has hit several times through here. We'll see. Can it break on past it? Well, that just all depends. Does Bitcoin continue moving up, or is it going to get stalled out at this 93.4 right here that I've got this red line at, as that is a resistance line for Bitcoin? And we have our support at about 88.8. Now, I'm glad that we did move up above that, and we have not necessarily closed and opened above this line. We are still running through it, so it's not a confirmed support line again yet, but I'm hoping that this does close out in this area and stays in this area or moves up, as that will then confirm this again as a support line. So it's just some of the things to keep an eye on and watch out for. But before I wrap it up, of course, if you have any questions, you can throw questions in the comments area about this reverse split, if there's anything that's confusing as far as in the formulas. And if you're on my Discord, I do have a channel set up just for that, right? And it is for the spreadsheet. So you're more than welcome to add your comments there in Discord under the spreadsheet channel so that I can get to those. And I usually get to those within the day, as it's just a little easier to check throughout the day. But don't forget to get your copy of this spreadsheet so that you can track your real price per share and to know when you're actually in profit or still at a loss. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. If you don't mind, hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, as it would be much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, Legend out.